Thank you for your patience and welcome to the webinar panel discussion that's today co-hosted along with Sarala, our topmost technology partner. And the topic that we've chosen today is the future of AP automation. Today, we have our spotlight specifically on the shared service centers. And yes, digital automation brings efficiency, cost savings across entire organization, and also the shared service center, more importantly, remains to be in the best position to achieve the maximum value or benefits from the automation itself. I'm in company of a very experienced subject matter experts here. Each one brings more than a decade of hands-on experience in digital transformation space from all the way Europe, Americas, Asia, of course. Thank you for joining in our event today, and it would be great if we can have some brief intros from all of you for our participants' sake, please. And maybe, how about we start with you, Padmaja?
Thanks, Pooja. My name is Padmaja, and I'm a passionate believer in digital transformation, and having more than 10 years of experience in finance processes automation, and specifically in the accounts payable process, I would like to share my experiences and learnings today in this session. For audience who are keen in automating their accounts payable process, then yes, this is the right session with the right people and for the right product.
That's great. Maybe Wokmar, we can have a brief intro from you as well, please.
Yeah, very quickly. Obviously, from my accent, you can hear I'm not Asian, but I'm living in Asia now since 10 years. And we have been doing projects, Padmaja and I, since 2008, I believe. And all these projects were around automating finance functions, mainly in accounts payable. So we are not limited to accounts payable, but this has been really a place where we have a lot of experience working for shared services, not only for shared services that are in Asia, but from here we did deployments all around the world. The main aspect that I want to share today is that what we did 3 years ago is not valid anymore. Things have changed, and we will later discuss what has changed and what can be done to improve processes which have been established already.
It's great. Christian, it's so nice to finally meet up again, even if it's online. You know, we've all worked together, so it's just great to see you again. How about a brief intro? We know everything about you, but I'm sure the participants want to know a little more.
Yeah, sure. First of all, thanks for having me. It's really a pleasure being here with you today and answer questions and then also share the experience that we and I have being in the AP space or AP automation space for quite a while already. I think I started back in 15 years ago. That was the first time I had to deal with AP automation. But you can really see that AP automation, like Volkmar was pointing out, has really evolved and then things have changed ever since. And I'm happy to share my experiences with you.
That's great. That's great. Christian, it'd be great if you can, maybe carry on and share more about how the organizations today are streamlining the entire back-end accounts payable process. I mean, I'm more interested in the response from you in terms of how the pace has changed. Are we seeing that in the AP function? Has the pace changed and for the better?
Yes, it certainly has changed. And it is really exciting times, I would say, for AP and AP automation in general, I would say. If you look at AP, like when it started, like back in the 90s, and since now or up to now, it has really evolved and a lot of things have changed. On one side, like in the early days, one of the main formats or mediums that were used was basically paper, and paper had to get digitized, so basically turn a paper document into an image and then capture the content from an image and then route this image through the organization, get all the approvals done. And I think this has tremendously changed. I remember from talks with many of our customers, and like back in the early days, when like the first email arrived with PDF invoices attached to it, as people didn't know how to handle it, one of the things that we're doing is that we're basically printing out the email, the PDF document, get all the approvals done and then route it through the organization basically, and in the end scan it back in to have this digital image. And this has completely changed if you compare it to now. Now the challenge is, I would say, by far different. Now, for example, over here in Europe or in South America, the format has completely changed. We're no longer talking about only paper invoices. We're talking about electronic invoices, XML-based invoices. So invoices that, for the human eye, don't even look like an invoice. It's data basically shown when you open it up, and it's like maybe confusing. And this is one of the challenges you're looking into. The way that invoices are transferred now is also different. So like I said, it's not only paper invoices, PDF invoices, XML-based invoices, but also you have a lot of these networks where you exchange invoices. For example, like Ariba is one of these platforms, or Peppol is another way of exchanging invoices. So this has completely changed. Plus, we're also talking about new technology that is making the AP clerk's life a lot easier. So accelerating the process, speeding up the data capturing, giving a lot of aid to the user in order to process the document even more efficiently and faster than it was back in the beginning, I would say.
Wow. So there's a lot of acceleration in energy and also actually technological advancement that's changed the pace, maybe perhaps over the last 5 years, if not a decade. That's great. Bokma, you've worked in Asia for more than what, 10 years now, 12 years? And this is actually pretty long. I can't call it early days, definitely, or even more than 10 years is pretty long to know the thick and thin of how Asia works, because you've worked in Europe before with big accounts, and then you did the same here in Asia. What's your perspective for the same? How has the change and the pace been? Has it have the companies really accepted this with the accelerated need for change, especially with respect to the shared service centers here in Asia?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to repeat what Christian said, so I can only underwrite what he emphasized. The data has changed. The data that's being processed has so dramatically changed. When 10 years ago, we were converting data to be integrated into processes, to automate processes. Today, we don't need to do this anymore. The data comes already in a digital format. I think what I like to emphasize is the expectations of the users and of the stakeholders has significantly changed. So when in early days, and that's true for Europe, and when I came to Asia, even more, I have to say, was to use technology to mimic existing processes, to make them maybe to some extent support existing processes. But today we are looking about eliminating processes using digital technology. Today we are talking about really reviewing whether the process of handling and approving invoices as it has been done for the last, I don't know, 100 years, whether this is still applicable when we look into the technologies which are available. I believe we are now seeing true disruption happening. We will now see things that we might have envisioned 10 years ago really taking place, where in the end, we will, for many process steps, not have any humans in the loop anymore. For many process steps, we will have real-time responses. And we will talk about this later.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Actually, it's very good to hear how the pace has really increased and the interest is increased, and we have so many higher standards of how people are adopting. And Padmaja, you've been right in the middle of all of this success.
Yeah, the accounts payable automation definitely will be seamless if organization makes sure that their suppliers are paid on time so that the business keeps moving. It is just not enough that you automate, like what Bokma and Christian has mentioned, that the technology is there. You just put in the technology and it will not just go or take it by itself. You need to streamline the process, and it is a continuous process. So the accounts payable professionals believes that the process is fully automated as soon as they receive invoices or in PDF or in soft copies. That is enough. We already achieved the automation. Other than digitizing the invoice copies, they should make sure that the approvers can approve the invoices from anywhere, anytime, and using the technology either by web or by mobile or any of the devices. They can just on the fly can accomplish their task. And also at the same time, other than the technology and the process bringing in together, there should not be any compromise on the compliance. It should give the complete audit logs, and the way we work changes. Now no one will refer to hard copies or anything. Even the audits, they will be in a digital one day. Very soon it will happen. It's not very far. So what are we trying to achieve over here is to speed up the total invoice processing time and cut down the manual task or to no manual tasks, which is nothing but we are cutting down time. That is, we are saving the cost. So finally, with all this streamlined process and the fast process, there will definitely be enjoying the early payment discounts, as well as they avoid the late payments charges as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely understand and agree with you. And you bring substantial Asian reference here. Perhaps you could also share some more highlights on maybe the process experience and especially our competence concerning the legal requirements here in Asian markets.
Yes. Coming to the process experience using specifically FS2 Sarala accounts payable automation, to describe it in a simple way, it brings the clarity to complexity. And because how much ever complex the business process is, but the Sarala accounts payable automation will really help to make it very simpler way using the best practice approach. Hence, this solution is the best fit for the shared service centers. And when we come to the legal requirements, specifically in Asia, if we start with India recently implemented the GST portal where all the invoices need to be registered and they accept only JSON file formats, and there are mandatory fields which need to be checked and without which there will be no tax invoice generated. And again, this is a mandatory depending upon the that annual turnover of the organization. And if we talk about China also had got its own legal requirements like FAPIOs, where every invoice need to be along with the FAPIO, and we need to consolidate these FAPIOs to the respective invoice, and this is again a mandatory. And similarly, if we talk about Indonesia, it has got eNova online portal where they generate e-faktur invoices, the tax invoice for domestic invoice raised, and it is also a mandatory. But all these countries are like mandatory, so we can standardize the process. And there are certain countries like Singapore where it is very optional, where it uses a PEPL network to facilitate exchange of invoices, and it is still not yet complete onto the network. Only very few companies are now coming up because of this pandemic changes. And since it is optional, we need to be provided as a solution provider. We need to be ready with providing the solutions for both with standardized and non-standardized legal requirements. So using Sarala, which has got a very good standard product with a best practice approach, and combining with August as a partner, we offer the solutions on top, meeting these legal requirements across the regions.
That's excellent. Yeah. Hokma, you've also dealt, and created a lineage of accounts, Asian entities here in Singapore, from Singapore, but across the Southeast Asian realm. What's your take on the best offering that exists today for organizations looking for not only just AP automation, but also other suite of efficient possibilities? Like, for example, I've heard clients mentioning or asking this in various demos, do you have supplier self-service? So what's your take on that?
Well, yeah, thank you for giving me the keyword. So what is a starting point for me is that, again, looking back in our history, before it was the large organization, was the shared services that started to digitize processes, and where this often ended or where it started to struggle is when you interact with your supplier. And if you have a huge supply chain and your supply chain is providing data to you in analog format, we're talking about hard copies, calling on the phone, this is actually disrupting the processes in shared services. And many shared services feel like call centers. There's a simple math, right? If you have 10,000 suppliers and only 25% of those suppliers do one call in a year, right? You have 2,500 calls. If only one call a year, but from only 25%. So you really keep your staff busy by answering queries. And this is where supplier self-service comes into play. And luckily today, it is not only initiatives of governments like in Singapore, it is actually something that is happening, maybe of course emphasized through the pandemic, that the suppliers themselves, and this is talking about suppliers of all sizes, are looking to digitize their processes, meaning they are looking for means and ways to communicate to their corporate buyers through digital means that have to be simple to use. So some aspects are being able to use a mobile device, being able to log in easily, find the data that you need, find data in respect to your invoice status, find data to your POs, see how you can flip your purchase orders into invoice, which again then helps the corporates to get perfect data, or what we call perfect data. And the story could go on longer and longer. But all this is driven by the need of suppliers to be on top of the process. Yesterday, I was talking to a supplier in India, and he was talking about the experience of like talking to a black box. When he's sending out invoice to his corporate buyers, he doesn't know what's happening. He doesn't know, has the invoice been received? Is this invoice being processed? Is there any issue with the invoice? Will I be paid eventually after 60, 90 days or longer? So what we want to do, and this I believe will serve the shared service center foremost, is to enable suppliers to get in control of the process from RFQ to payment, eventually even to the point that the suppliers can determine when he will be paid and just taking control, clicking a button and receiving the money on the same day. This is what we are working on to provide to our customers.
Wow, that sounds really path-breaking. That's great. Christian, it's great that Workman Padmaja adds so much perspective and hands-on experience stories to how AP has taken off and how the challenges still did not deter the pace of change, which has only been progressive and positive. We also want to know from you, and especially Surala's standing.
Yeah, let me share my thoughts with you on my experience. When it comes to certain markets, you will often realize that sometimes requirements are different, time-wise different. Like, for example, if I take the United States as an example, they are very open for new technologies. They are very open for cloud technologies and shifting basically the work that is in the old days done on their own premises into the cloud. So it's shifted. While over here in Europe, maybe specifically even in Germany, it's a little bit more slow paced. And it's not that people are saying, no, we don't want that, but let's wait a bit. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it develops. And then maybe after a while it has been established, we'll jump on it and move along. And you can see that markets are moving have different interests and different challenges sometimes. And of course, we as a solution provider have to adapt to it and make sure that we are already there when the customer is demanding it, before they know it's going to be a demand, ideally. I mean, like Padmaja was pointing out earlier ago with special requirements when it comes to like India or Indonesia, where you have certain governmental portals where you have to send the invoice to. The same is something we're facing over here, for example, in Italy or in Brazil or other countries. You face very similar challenges that all of a sudden now you have to send invoices electronically, especially invoices that are sent to the government or to federal organizations or whatsoever. You have public authorities, you have to send them electronically, also here in Germany. If they have a certain amount, it kind of depends on the state you're in, but you would have to send them electronically, and as a supplier, you have to be able to send them electronically. So, and you have to use a portal, for example, if you're unable to send them electronically yourself. So these are challenges where we help our customers. And like I said, we are already there before maybe the customer is already aware that this is something that is will approach him sooner or later. Another example is I was pointing out the cloud technology. With customers that are maybe a little bit more slow paced and they don't want to go full cloud, like fully native cloud. What sometimes helps them if we, basically help them to bridge the gap and make it a little easier, but not go full pace, but instead maybe go like a hybrid way. Maybe use a data capturing solution that we offer. It's called SmartEye, and use this as a hybrid service and connect the cloud capturing solution with your on-prem ERP system, which is, for example, SAP. And this is something that also helps customer to make use of the benefits of using a cloud solution in combination with a hybrid or with an on-prem approach, a so-called hybrid approach. And like I said, without going full pace. So I think this is also what helps them a lot.
Yeah, I mean, here now I have to strike out here in Asia. It's ideal for shared service centers. We equipped a lot of shared service centers, Padmanja and I together of the world, without having FS2 accounts payable available for us. And there were lots of struggles we were going through, which are specific to shared service centers. So just to highlight one aspect is that in many shared service centers, the accountants work on more than one SAP system, which would require them to log from one system to the next, not with FS2 accounts payable. This allows accountants to have one single login to one SAP system and still process documents for various company codes anyway, but for various SAP systems, which is, several names come to my mind, I don't want to name it, would be a real advantage for them. There are limitations that Xarella FS2 accounts payable is addressing in respect to teams working on the same set of documents. So one aspect that you need to do when you talk about shared services is that you need to segregate the work, right? That's one thing. But then you still, if you have a high transaction volume, you can't segregate the work to the individual documents. So you have a team of accountants looking at the same set of work items. And here, FS2 accounts payable have a very smart approach in real time without any further delay to lead the accountants to the next work item that needs to be attended to. Really nice. So yes, I believe this solution has been designed for financial shared service centers in the first place.
For sure. Padmanja, you've been again in the mix, in the middle, and at the top of all these successful deployments and solution delivery in Asia. What are the main challenges during the transition, that is from the manual tasks to automation going absolutely digital? Do you perceive that the pandemic that we're all experiencing has made any kind of a shift, good or bad?
Talking about challenges regarding during the transition, especially if I point out clearly on shared service centers, they really start the projects as a normal IT project, which is not right. This is the main challenge actually. They need to take this as an opportunity to transform the accounts payable department to spend management knowledge hub, where one of the function that controls much of the critical business and it impacts CFO's agenda. So the main challenges that is no proper communication. Employees are not informed. If I take example of all my previous assignments in different countries, whether it is in India or Philippines or in other countries, where they set up the shared service centers, it's like, okay, they will start it as an IT project where IT team will do all the things, but the business users are not communicated well, and at the end business users will struggle to map because everything is manual process, and how do we map it to now with the automation process. So this is where the challenges come in, and no doubt the pandemic changed the way we work. It has got both good and bad, And if we talk about good, yes, previously it was like we have management or the top level management need to forcefully ask the employees, yes, you need to follow this. And they never used to prioritize such kind of projects before. And now the pressure is not only from the top management, but it is it is coming equally from all the directions, including the government as well is promoting to digitize the processes and giving the subsidies and all those. So if we talk about bad, yes, as Christian mentioned, that it's very difficult for everyone to convince to bring into the cloud platform because they are more worried about the cyber security. So this is but this is going away right now. But the products, if it is fully mature, then definitely this is the one which can be easily addressed with the products like Cerula FS2. He's already well established in the market. They do not focus much on, no need to focus much on the product itself, but they will try to address the challenges that we are facing, the new challenges because of the change in the working environment.
One obviously was addressed by Padmaja and yourself and Christian, and one that remains to be addressed is this adoption of electronic invoices in Asia, which is still catching some kind of momentum. It has caught quite a bit in Singapore. Has it impacted the digital transformation journey?
Absolutely, and I would think that Asia is now leapfrogging ahead. I noticed that Christian gave me an update just now about what's happening in Germany with mandatory electronic invoicing to federal agencies. Good to know. This is happening in Asia since a year or two. And if I say Asia, one market after the next is adopting electronic invoices. So Singapore was certainly not the first one actually, but still giving a lead by adopting an already established standard, which has, after Singapore, been adopted New Zealand, Australia. We know that coming in Malaysia, Vietnam, and Thailand. Philippines is now at the verge to introduce electronic invoicing. It has been many, many years already in Korea. It's almost standard in China now. It is going to become standard in India and is standard already for certain company sizes. So it's happening. There is no way back. And it has an impact. So the first impact is we get rid of error-prone manual work, which is what we were looking for all the time. The second is that we get just better qualified data. Doesn't mean the data is correct, but we have the data that we can then use to have proper exception handling. And what is the effect on shared services? So those shared services that already have process in place to digitize data will of course continue using it as long as hard copy or PDF documents are coming, and just merge electronic documents more and more to it. But those shared service centers that have not yet invested in digitization technology, OCR technology on site, will certainly not do this anymore. They will make use of services, just like Christian described it, that a service provider will digitize incoming invoices. You receive a PDF, you receive a hard copy. You just don't consider this anymore as a digitization process. You just send it off to the service, and the next time and the first time for the accountants to see the document is in SAP as a full-fledged SAP document, magically integrated. This will be, I would think, in 3 years, the standard experience of accountants. Probably at some point we will forget that our forefathers exchanged paper.
We do have a very short Q&A round for all the participants here interested to ask basic to even complex questions to what is all about FS2 accounts payable. So while we say bye-bye to Christian, I would request Padmaja and Volkmar to stay on for any kind of questions that might come.